welcome to Southend TV. I'm here with Jackie. Jackie is an incredibly inspirational woman. We're going to hear about that in a bit. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm currently training to cross Greenland in 2018. So my next big trip is actually polar training in February next year, northern Norway. So yeah.
What does that involve?
That involves 5 days living on ice, in tents and crossing in skis, and the temperature's about -35. So it's getting used to that kind of, prepping me for Greenland. So it's a good part of training, and then we go through all our kit and stuff, and that'll get checked by the company that I'm using. I'm using a company direct in Norway, so that should be cool.
So what's the training involve?
Well, I do my own training. I used to be a fitness instructor, and I can't do any form of high impact sports because I've got screws in my back, so I'm limited in what I can do. I've just recently actually changed my lounge around. It's now my own gymnasium, and I work on air machines. So I've got a ski erg too, and also I've got an air dyne, which are very effective pieces of equipment. Yeah, so I'm following Jim Jones' kind of method of training, so working to the extreme, obviously, and it's basically you work to the point of exhaustion. So I currently do that indoors, but they're air-driven machines, so they vibrate and make kind of a drawling noise, so I have to be careful with the neighbours, so I get complaints soon. So I'm doing that sort of form of training to the extreme of how far I can work. I've just done a half a marathon on a ski erg, which is, I'm second in the world actually at the moment. There's a Canadian woman in front of me. So that was really tough. I also do 100Ks, and that's 2.5 marathons in one shot. Like I said, I can't do high impact, so I don't run them, I actually hike them, but I actually come in with the runners. So my last one was 17 hours 20, that was going to Cambridge from London, but runners were still coming in. So I've got a runner's mind because I used to do running. So I do that as part of my training. I also swim a lot. I do about 4 miles a week, and I'm just currently doing free diving, so I just passed my first part of the course, and I'm going back in September. So that will help with altitude with the lungs. So basically I do like all my own homework. I've always got my head in a book or I'm Googling something. So yeah, I train myself.
That's amazing. So what inspired you to start all this?
My father had broke the news that he had terminal cancer and secondary cancer in 5th of September in 2011, never forget the date. I took a week off of work and I found myself just walking backwards and forwards up the seafront to Shoeburyness to Benfleet, backwards and forwards, dusk till dawn. And I'd done it for 7 days. Just cried and cried, didn't want to speak to anybody. And it wasn't until I kind of, at the end of the week, I calculated what mileage I'd done. And I'd done over 70 miles. And I was just like, do you know what, you could do something with this. So I thought, I'm going to raise some funds for Macmillan because no doubt it's going to need a Macmillan nurse. Now a marathon's not enough for me because I used to run marathons and I can't run them, so I wanted to do something extra. I was Googling on the internet and came across 100Ks, never heard of them before. They were started to become new, I think they're about a year old then. So I entered an ultra. So my first ultra was London to Brighton. I trained extremely hard, I ticked all the boxes, I wanted to do it in a certain amount of time. And so I told my father what I was doing for him. So I went and done London to Brighton, and that was my first medal in 2002.
A load of medals over there.
Yeah, I'm holding these because they're kind of the memories that I hold because, you know, my father was here and alive when I'd done that. So I done London to Brighton, but I suffered extremely bad with my feet. I had my feet bandaged 3 times, and so my boots were really then tight. I literally lost all the skin on my feet. I lost 3 toenails. It was so painful, but what got me through, obviously I didn't prep my feet enough. What got me through is I knew my pain was temporary, but my father's wasn't. Right. So kind of, you know, I kept having to sort of think about things. Anyway, I couldn't walk for 3 days, but then I eventually got to my dad's and gave him my medal. So I was like, Dad, I've done it. And I'd already booked a swim after that, which was the following week, which was at Victoria Docks, and it was a mile swim.
The following week? That was amazing.
Yeah.
So
I'd done, it was sponsored by British Gas, so I'd done a mile swim open water at Victoria Docks in London, which was really cool. So that was another medal. So I thought, do you know what, I'm enjoying this.
Got a little connection going now.
So then what I'd done is I was Googling swimming. So I joined the Red Caps here in Southend and started doing a bit of swimming with them. And I found some Speedo sponsored swims, open water swims. So I then drove to Poole in Dorset and went to Sandbanks and done a 2-mile swim. So I was up in my amount of distance. So then I done a 2-mile swim, which was in Poole in Dorset. And then I decided to do another 100k. Even though I swore when I woke up the next morning, no way, I'm ever going to do another 100k, because I suffered. But I'd done another one. That one was a Thames Path. And then I decided to do another swim, which was Hampton Court, which was 2.25 miles. So I was pushing the boundaries a little bit more. So it was Hampton Court to Kingston Bridge, which absolutely was an amazing swim, but it was very, very cold. It was like about sort of 8 degrees, pretty cold. And they were my last, that was my last for the year. So I done 5 challenges while my father was still alive. So I often gave him these, and he'd show them at Mill & Nurses, look what my daughter does for me, and I'd done a little bit of publicity locally. And he was becoming quite ill. They didn't give him long to live, but he did outlive what they said. And he said, what are you doing next? So I thought, well, I'll do something. And I was really kind of involved with Macmillan, and they was doing Everest Base Camp. So I thought I'd do Everest Base Camp the following year. So I said to my father, I'll do this in your memory, because I knew he wouldn't be around. So now my focus was really big for Everest Base Camp, because I wanted to achieve it, and I didn't want altitude to kind of knock me out. Because I promised him that I was going to do it, and I knew he wouldn't be here for me to not. So I trained extremely hard, and I have more medals, quite a few. I got addicted, you know, even though my feet really suffered, it just happened. So then I ended up just doing loads of different 100Ks, because I thought, well, I'll just carry on, and I was really heavily into swimming. So I went the following year in November to Everest Base Camp, and I found myself on the 11th of November, which was the day my father passed away, walking through Everest Cemetery. So it's very touching. So there was really nice memories there. And I made Everest Base Camp the following day on the 12th, and I was absolutely fine. Now, a lot of things went through my mind while I was trekking. Would I really want to summit Everest, you know? Because I thought, you know, it just doesn't seem right to go to the base. But it didn't really appeal to me. But thoughts were there. I need to do something else. I thought I'd be really satisfied by the time
I can tell.
Yeah. So anyway, when I finally got back to Kathmandu, it took me 14-day turnaround to get to Everest and back. I brought a book on a woman. She was the first one who went to Everest. But it started to give me some ideas, some inspiration to do other things. So I thought I'd take some baby steps. I thought I'll come back and I want to summit Mont Blanc. So I've never worn crampons in my life. I've got 2 sets now, so I only thought I'd wear 1 pair. So I bought some crampons and I booked to summit Mont Blanc, and that was about 10 months later. So then I started to train really, really hard. Because obviously it was altitude, but it wasn't taking your time with altitude. It was like more of a 15-hour turnaround. Never wore crampons in my life, but I thought, yeah, I can go for it. So I flew to Chamonix and I went over to Italy to do my training. And then I dropped back down for a few more days once I got used to the altitude, and then went up to go to the summit. So I'd done that in September, which was an amazing experience. And yeah, I was kind of quite proud of myself for doing that. And I was carrying on doing 100Ks and training extremely hard, and then I thought, well, actually I've done that, that's successful. I want to do something else. So I thought I wanted to go backwards. I knew I needed to know more about the mountains, which I felt it would have helped me when I was doing Mont Blanc. So I thought I'd go to Switzerland the next year and do more alpine. And I went to Switzerland the following year, and I summited 5 mountains in 5 days over 4,000 metres. Which wasn't a plan, but I had energy. So it was really good. And my guide was amazing. And we'd done some form of, a tiny bit of skills of ice climbing. And I was like, I really like this. And it gave me the desire to ice climb. So it's a bit more technical.
I can only imagine.
So the following year, then I needed new crampons for ice, because you need these prongs here. And as you can see, that's all what gets in the ice. So I booked ice climbing for January of this year. So 6 months later, I was doing ice climbing. I went to Chamonix to do it there. We didn't have enough ice, or there wasn't enough frozen falls. So we drove through to Italy, and I'd done 6-day intense ice climbing. And I got up to 1,000 feet. But it would take you about 2 hours to get to the approach, so that was even tough on its own. So I'd done ice climbing, which was really, really difficult, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And now it's brought me onto ice. And I thought, do you know, I actually want to do something more with ice. Because I still didn't know what I really wanted to do. And I'd been to Greenland about 10 years ago, and I'd done a mushroom expedition, and I really liked Greenland. It's just, you know, it's a bit of it's an unusual place to go, and not a lot of people go, yeah.
It's beautiful.
So I'd read a lot about the crossing of Greenland, so I decided I want to do polar training across Greenland, which I've booked and paid for. So I'm doing a spring crossing, so it's going to be a little bit warmer for me, but still mostly about -30, but I didn't want to go to temperatures of -50. So I'm doing spring, which would be May 2018, and generally you need a good 2 years to train. So I've allowed myself enough time. I don't ski, and I know you've got to ski across Greenland, so I took myself after ice climbing to Norway, and I'd done cross-country skiing for 8 days and found I was fine. I just about moved the inner thighs though, but it was really, really cool. And I came back from there, and I just like, yeah, no, this is definitely for me. And so since then as well, what I'm doing is free diving. So I started to free dive. I came back from Norway and I went free diving down in Cornwall. Because it's going to help with lungs, altitude, pressure, and plus it's going to make me fitter. So I'm going back in September and doing the second part of my course. When I'm at home as well, I generally wear this mask, and I wear it because you've got different dials, elevation masks, but I wear it generally about 18,000 feet. So I put my dials on just so it kind of restricts my breathing a little bit, but it helps train. And with my job, it's just because it works out with travelling, it takes about 13 hours a day of my day, so it's really hard for me to balance at the moment. So I have to do as much as I can when I can.
It's like a very busy lady.
So even if I'm doing the washing up, I've just got this on. I'm just going through the window. So where I'm at the moment is I've just come back from Switzerland again. I trekked from Chamonix to Zermatt. It took me 9 days, which was really good, and we was up about 3,000 metres, so that was really good for training for me. And while I was there, I felt I wanted to do a little bit extra, so as soon as I got into Zermatt, I booked the Brighthorn, so I summited the Brighthorn the next day to get a really good kind of close-up of Matterhorn. But I'd done the Brighthorn last year, so I finished with a summit. I thought, why can't you just do that? So my next major trip is polar training next year in February. I fly out on the 13th of February, stay in Oslo for a few days, then fly up to Alta, and then I'll be on ice in Finnmark.
How long will that go on for?
So all in all, my trip is about 10 days, but I think I'm on ice for about 5 days. Okay. So I'm going to collect my skis when I'm in Oslo, buy my skis, but obviously I'm collating my kit now. I've got a lot of the kit already. Which is really costly. It's just like everything, because everything is different. Even ice climbing is a different crampon to just normal climbing. But I think what it is, when you actually spend out so much on kit, it makes you want to do it even more because you want to use the kit.
Exactly.
So,
I want to do well.
So who knows? There's 2 other things. There's the North Pole and South Pole. They call them the big 3, Greenland, North and South. But who knows? We'll see how Greenland goes.
What do you reckon your total distance is you travelled? Is it past counting now?
Oh, it is. Yeah. I mean, I think for all I've done, and even the altitude, it's just, I would never have thought I couldn't think, like, say 5 years ago, even before my father had cancer, I would never have thought I'd be where I'm at now. It just was never a passion of mine. You know, to go on a hike to base camp, so I wouldn't have even wanted to do it. But it's kind of escalated. But as I say, I don't really know until I do one more thing where it's going to take me for the next. I've just been trialling different stuff. And ice is the one that's come up top.
Obviously you've got so much motivation. Where do you get that from?
No one motivates me, no one encourages me, I just do it all myself. I've always been extremely disciplined and self-motivated. I've been training for like 30 odd years anyway. I was a fitness instructor, and I was brought up in, my father was very fit, and my brother, he's a boxing trainer, my sister was an aerobic teacher. We was kind of always, we're a sporty bunch, and I've always loved the great outdoors. And I was brought up on a small farm. And you'd often see me like hanging out of trees and riding the horses. You know, I was kind of always active as a child, so. But I lone train, you know, I don't train with anyone. And when I'm doing training indoors, there's nothing happening, you know, so it's kind of very, very tedious. But the mind is primary, and I feel I need to train my mind for the things I'm doing, because when you're crossing ice, it'll take me in Greenland about 26 days. You could have blizzards the whole time. You're pretty much on your own, even though there'd be about 6 of us, I don't know the other guys. Your mind's got to get you through those 26 days. You've got to cope with living in just, you know, with your base layer, not even taking the base layer off, and you've just got to kind of suck up really the enjoyment and try and, you know, sort of embrace what you're doing. And so I know I need that kind of mindset for there. So for me to do such tedious, boring training is good for my mind. So yeah, even, you know, the ultras, they're tough. There's 2.5 marathons in one shot. They really are. You know, when you get to about the 11th hour, you think, what am I doing? You can see people switching their lights off, they're going to bed, you know, you think in the neighbourhood, what am I doing? I'm still out. For why? But it's good training, good training. It's good to train for your sleep, so yeah.
That is amazing.
So when the going gets tough, Mont Blanc I found tough, especially getting onto the ridge up the summit. I just go straight back into what my father, you know, how he suffered. And it's like, I know it's temporary. I know everything I'm doing is temporary, my pain. Because before long, I'll be back down. I'll be like, you know, reaping the rewards of what I've just done. And I don't know what it is, but where I kind of, the further I get above the fluffy clouds, because I've been above it quite a lot now, the closer I get to my dad. And I find it very touching and overwhelming. So, and I think I've gone quite far up because of that. Because the sound, everything gets, you know, there's no sound, there's no birds, and it's just such an amazing experience to be so close. I don't know, but it's him. It's him, that's a bit, you know, tongue-tied, wasn't it? But it's my dad. My dad's just, I know, and I feel safe. I feel safe. You know, ice climbing, it's really unsafe. Free diving, they're two extreme sports. They're mostly the worst to do. Ice is not connected to rock. And you can tap away, and you're going to just, the plate's going to fall down. And then, you know, you've got your crampon in. So that one might be, you've got to have two in. Ideally, you've got to try and get them all in. But say those two, you can see where the paint's come off. And that's as far as you're in. That ice could go. It could either be 2 feet, 1 arm with the axe, or 2 arms, 1 foot. And then that can just slip. So, and also when you're tapping away, you might not actually be able to hook yourself on because the ice is coming away. And you've got so many different forms of ice as well. You've got butter ice, you've got glass ice. If glass ice will actually form a place and then that falls, so it's like rock and it will cut you like glass. So you have to wear balaclava. But even that, and sometimes you are, and you look down, you're 1,000 feet up, and if you go on my Instagram, you'll see we've got ice anchors. Right. So you're anchored just to the ice.
And where's your Instagram? Just out of interest?
Jackie Head 1. So your Instagram to ice. No, Jackie Head plus 1. So you are actually anchored to ice. Now, when you're dropping back down and you're belaying, and you're last to come down, and you're like looking at that anchor just drilled through the ice. It could just think that little airline crack could just possibly. Yeah. So it's very dangerous. But do you know what? I just feel my dad's left me with he was such a strong man, and he was very protective as a father. He brought us up very independent. And he would always say, he would always say that you can do anything. But he's left me with feeling so safe. I feel like I'm being looked after. So you don't go to these places to kind of, you know, injure yourself or die, because some of them are dangerous. You go there to do it. You just, you know, you make sure you take the precautions. But yeah, they're extreme. But then I'm obviously a bit of an adrenaline junkie. I've jumped out of aeroplanes and stuff in my past, so I kind of like all that kind of sport. So yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. It's brilliant. Thank you so much.